Yeah, we got to talk about something kind of that I don't want to talk about.
So you haven't told me anything about this, and I haven't gone out and looked at it. So I'm just sitting here waiting to be as entertained and educated as anyone else.
I find myself a little envious that you just don't know about this because I would prefer to be in the same boat. So I'm going to preface this.
You're just too plugged in.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna preface this that the discourse that's gonna come from this topic, specifically this video with the tens of people that'll watch it, is useless. There are certain corners of the internet that only communicate through just disgusting vitriol. It's the only language they know. Yeah. And so when you say something that goes against their confirmation bias, their immediate reaction is to go to the comments and say the most disgusting thing they can.
Fuck you, you're a pedophile.
Yeah. And that's almost certainly what will happen here. In fact, posting about this twice this week, there were 3 instances of specifically you don't agree with me, therefore you are a pedophile kind of a thing, which is one of those every conservative accusation is a confession kind of thing in my mind.
But also get some new material.
Yeah, right. It's like I understand what you're working with isn't that advanced, but I don't know, ask ChatGPT to write you a joke.
Yeah, like stop going back to the greatest hits. Like pull out a B-side every now and then.
Right. Yeah, you don't go to a Billy Joel concert and just listen to Piano Man the whole fucking time.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Like, he plays other stuff.
And the other part too is that I happen to be cursed with the knowledge that half of all internet traffic isn't real.
It's bots. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not over exaggerating. 50% of all internet traffic aren't real people.
I know.
So when I see a comment, I try to remember, that's probably a Russian bot farm or something. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to kind of explain what happened a little bit and weigh in because I'll also preface this by saying I have a clear bias against one of the actors in this situation, and we've railed on him before. And there will be comments about, oh, you're fucking jealous of Star Wars theories, blah, blah, blah. You guys talk about them all the time, which is funny because we do a live show every week and we rarely ever talk about Star Wars theory. In fact,
only when he does dumb and heinous shit.
Yeah. So there's a Star Wars YouTube channel called Star Wars Explained, run by a guy named Alex and his wife Molly. Okay. It is one of the gems of the internet, particularly where Star Wars discourse is concerned. And I'm not sure if Alex would even be offended if I said this, but it's like if Wikipedia like had a face, and a YouTube channel. That's what Star Wars Explained is. In fact, I think I remember him saying that he created the channel as a way to help study for a Star Wars trivia night at a bar, and that's what his thing is, right? And since its inception, he does the videos on lore, both canon and legends. Doesn't make his following and his money by the whole rage hate bait bullshit.
Good for him.
Yeah. He's honest when he isn't crazy about something, but he's not just an asshole about it. And it's one of those channels I've been following for a long time and I've been a fan of a long time. And I've really appreciated the contribution that he made to the community, but also to just the quality of the discourse. Right. Mm-hmm. And so there's that. Right. So his wife, Molly, shared an open letter to YouTube. And let me tell you, so it was an open letter. It has cutesy, little Star Wars graphic stickers on it, but also is cited with a whole footnotes section with citations. And is well researched and extraordinarily well said. Right. And this is basically it. It kind of discussed the ongoing harassment that's like faced by marginalized actors, particularly in Star Wars, specifically on YouTube. And it mentions by name Amanda Stenberg, who is, as we know, faced significant online abuse from her role in the Acolyte. And she tied the harassment with fucking receipts to prominent figures. Do you remember that asshole Milo Yiannopoulos?
Oh yeah.
Who kind of like had a similar campaign against the comedian Leslie Jones, who's a black woman, right? And she made Molly made some accusations against some specific YouTube channels, being Geeks and Gamers, which we know is an alt-right hate group that makes literally all of their following from making heinous racial, homophobic, misogynistic slurs against people and just being the worst human trash possible. RK Outpost and Nerdrotic, all of which are the same. Accuse them of contributing to and profiting from a culture of targeted harassment against actors of color and women specifically.
Okay.
And she pointed out that the channels produce content that fuels hate and uses really harmful stereotypes. For example, calling Stenberg, quote, an angry black woman and, quote, a black bitch. And makes a call to action in the letter asking YouTube to enforce its community guidelines.
Okay.
Nothing more than that. Just, you have these guidelines. Please hold these channels to account.
Okay. I'm on board so far.
And urge YouTube to demonetize the channels to prevent them from profiting off of being fucking hate mongers. Yeah. Is she wrong?
No.
She's not, right? And another couple of things I appreciated was that she mentioned Kelly Marie Tran and Moses Ingram, both of which were targets of disgusting vitriol by the worst people on YouTube.
Just for being visible in Star Wars.
Right. And so that was pretty much it. She was like, hey,
hey, YouTube, can you fucking enforce your hate speech rules? Yeah. Here's a bunch of people who are spouting hate speech. Can you do something about this?
Yeah. Now, here comes Star Wars fucking Theory.
Oh, God.
Who immediately is like, well, I'm offended by that.
Oh, okay.
Famous.
Time out. If you are offended when someone points out hate speech, maybe you shouldn't be fucking spouting hate speech. Yeah. Like, if someone says, hey, that guy's a bigot, and you say, oh, I'm offended, that says more about you than anything else.
Yes, indeed. And so one of the most famous snowflakes on the internet, Star Wars Theory, made a reaction video and opened it by saying that Alex was sackless and accused him of hiding behind his wife. And
all the classic far right talking.
Yes. And accuse them of, targeted harassment toward him because everything is about him. And
did the open letter even mention him?
I think it does.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it does.
Among like half a dozen other channels, though,
yes,
right?
Right.
Yeah. So
they're all freaking out about it.
I mean, targeted.
Right. And the real shitty thing is that he publicly shared some private communications that he had with Alex.
Okay.
That like from when they kind of met and how that
presumably before Alex found out what a piece of shit he was.
Right. Well, this is the thing about Star Wars Theory is that like his channel used to be like lore discussions and what if scenarios. Yeah. Like, oh, what if this happened?
And then he found out that he could make more money by baiting the far right.
Right. And that's kind of where, Star Wars Explained was like, no, we don't want that.
Nope.
Yeah,
we're not doing that.
That's shitty. And revealed messages where Alex confided in him about his struggle with anxiety. And of course, Star Wars Theory used that as a leverage point against him now. And all of his followers think that he like came to the table with receipts, and it's just him sharing private communications
things that were told to him in confidence,
right? That don't prove what they think it proves, and Star Wars Theory just being a douche. The same Star Wars Theory who just recently, by the way, defended the use of a slur toward ableist people And as we'll discuss here in a minute, isn't really out of place from how he usually is. And so the whole thing was a
trash fire,
right? And he accused them of hypocrisy and jealousy, that they don't believe in the noble virtue on which they stand, and I noticed that he could not resist complaining about the fact that Alex and his wife are often invited by Lucasfilm to events and he is not.
Maybe it's because they aren't fucking bigots.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, he is so, because he's spoken about this before. Like,
he's real butthurt about it.
It has wounded him to such an insane, deep personal level that it's like, okay, I don't mean to bring politics into it, but we have to, because there's a political, that side of the internet all more or less believe in the same political ideology. Yeah. And we're stupid to pretend like that's not true. And if you're like, well, I'm a Star Wars here and I don't believe, it's like, yeah, you do.
Put it in the comments. Yeah. We'll delete it, but you can put it there.
My First Amendment rights. So I'm going to talk about that too. So like, you'll notice that like, at the presidential debate, Kamala Harris poked at Trump about his crowd size.
Like at the end of one answer, she mentioned, by the way, Donald Trump has tiny fucking crowds for his
she knew
rallies.
exactly what she was doing, and it derailed him the rest of. And this is that thing for Star Wars theory. This. Mm-hmm. Oh, they get flown out and they get games early and I don't. Mm-hmm. And it's the thing that just sends him into a rage, right? It's just like, so he called for legal action for all these different YouTube channels. It's like, oh, you should sue Alex and Molly for speaking out against hate speech. By the way, they weren't like, it's not like Alex and Molly said, I don't like these people, take them off YouTube. They said, these are the facts. This is what they've said. Mm-hmm. This is YouTube's policy about what happens to you if you say those things. You should enforce that policy, right? And that's literally all. Mm-hmm. And a couple days later, I noticed that he put out another video.
Oh, God.
This conspiracy theory thing about how, because he's got that shitty Vader fan film. Mm-hmm. Disney monetized his video, and he's like, oh, and of course it happened after this thing with Star Wars Explained happened. So it's the deep state Star Wars and all that other shit, This is the point of all this. The thing that we're weighing in on is that Star Wars Explained, both Alex and Molly are right, and they've always been. Yeah. And this is the problem. The problem is with the creators. The problem is with people like Star Wars Theory and Geeks and Gamers and all of these fucking bottom feeders who maybe they don't even believe the shit they're saying, but they know that saying it will make them money, and so they say it.
Just call them grifters.
Yeah,
that's what they are.
Right. That's what it is. But there's a more systemic problem, which is that YouTube prioritizes content like this.
The internet in general. Interaction is what matters. Doesn't matter if you like it or hate it. If you're clicking like, if you're typing comments, if you're sending it to your friends, that's all the internet cares about.
It turns out that anger drives engagement like crazy. That's why like all the idiots that are going to be in the comments of this video, it's like, thank you. Yeah. You're literally,
you are pushing us up the algorithm with telling us how much you hate us.
Yeah.
So great. Thanks.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why when I see comments and I'm just like, okay, you work for me now. It's fine. And Star Wars, the problem with Star Wars, the many problems with Star Wars Theory shouldn't be ignored either. And he is an expert at playing the victim. Everything is always some big slap in the face and poor Star Wars Theory with his millions of subscribers and all this other bullshit. He routinely allies himself with and defends hyper alt-right hate groups like Geeks and Gamers and other like fandom menace groups who take credit for harassing actors online and review bombing stuff with black people in it. He platformed someone recently who said females don't watch Star Wars, and therefore there's no need to represent females in Star Wars. That's a thing that happened. And of course, his first line is the most predictable. Oh, you took that out of context. And it's like, no, motherfucker, I read the transcript. I didn't. That's exactly what the conversation was about. He invented and continues to lie about a make-believe war at Lucasfilm between Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni, because nothing threatens Star Wars theory more than Kathleen Kennedy.
Except maybe Brie Larson.
Yeah, well, that's a Mike Zero thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if he's in, because I don't follow him and I don't watch his videos.
How can you possibly avoid the 17 he puts out every day?
Mike Zero, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, also Star Wars theory. Like when this whole thing happened, someone who watched the video just sent me a transcript of it, because I will not support his bullshit. So I can't remember if Star Wars theory is on the Brie Larson like thing, but Kathleen Kennedy terrifies him to such a crazy extent that she lives rent free in his head. It's just insane, the obsession he has with Kathleen Kennedy. He uses the same language as other alt-right rage bait channels. You'll hear him bitch about things being woke and diversity hires and all this other bullshit, like all these buzzwords that don't mean anything or are patently false or demonstrably false.
It all comes down to, there's no possible way that anyone could possibly do this better than me, a straight white male.
Right.
So therefore, they must be getting help from somewhere.
Right. He has some of the most trash tier takes on Star Wars. Many of them being made in bad faith. Many of them he makes because he knows that he can stoke outrage and get those fucking sweet clicks, right? Because that's literally all his existence is about.
That's all it's for.
Famously went on a rant about the bricks and screws in Andor, had a bunch of small nitpicky problems with a bunch of things that don't matter. And the thing is, like, he claims to be a champion of George Lucas and George's original vision. And
George Lucas doesn't know who you are, motherfucker.
Yeah. And the other, like, and he uses his first name like he knows him, like they're friends. And it's like, first of all, I doubt that George Lucas knows you. If he does, he thinks you're a fucking joke, and you're part of the reason he sold Star Wars. People like you are part of the reason he sold Star Wars. He is very obviously hurt and jealous because Lucasfilm wants nothing to do with him. And it's because...
Except for making money off his shitty Vader fan.
Right, yeah. I bet they're like, oh, well... And then this is the thing.
Yeah, we'll take the $2 every 6 months or whatever.
And Star Wars theory, motherfucker, your biggest crime is making me side with a corporation over your dumbass. And that's really what hurts me. Is it like Disney, a multi-billion-dollar corporation that I hope to the center of my heart burns to the fucking ground? You're making me take their side on this bullshit? Fuck you. He famously a couple months ago claimed he was done with Star Wars. Do you remember this?
I think.
Yeah,
he
put out a video. He was done with Star Wars.
Okay,
we knew that.
I'm guessing that lasted all about 6 hours
until the next video came out, like the next day. We knew this wasn't true because he needs that sweet hate money, and I imagine his livelihood depends on it. I mentioned he defended the use of ableist slurs, and he also celebrated the coordinated hate attack against Wikipedia and its volunteers when Acolyte was happening, was gleefully delighting in those volunteers getting death and rape threats. And he thought that was really neat. And
just a class act all around.
Yeah. And his defenders love to do this. This thing that, like, particularly people on the alt-right do, where they're like, well, what exactly did he like? When did he exactly say that? You can. You need to prove that. Like, when exactly? What exact moment? Please, like, all, like, they set up a goalpost that they plan to move anyway, but
they're derailing you from the actual thing that matters with all this bullshit detail.
And knowing also that people like Star Wars Theory are experts at using dog whistles and coded language to say the thing, to say without saying the thing that they meant, right? And they know this, and they know that sometimes it's hard to articulate the connection because they've gotten very good at hiding their racism behind the mirage of discourse, of responsible discourse. And none of it is, right? But we've been exposed to it for so long, particularly since 2016, that I think people know it when they hear it now. So it goes all over the spectrum, from literally platforming someone who literally said that females shouldn't be represented because girls didn't watch Star Wars, to saying things like diversity hire when what you mean is that's a black person, or saying, oh, that's woke when what you mean is they're gay and fucking disgusting, because that's what you mean. But you know you can't say that outright. So you find a coded way to say it.
It's not to pull politics into this even more, but it's the Southern strategy. It's how Ronald Reagan won the election in 1980. Like, there's a quote, like if you go to Wikipedia, look up Southern strategy, there's a quote from Republican strategist Lee Atwater saying, first you say the N-word, then you can't say the N-word anymore. So you like couch it in so much bullshit.
Yeah. Put a suit and tie on it.
Yeah. The people that you're talking to know what you're saying, but the rest of the people who might hear it just hear an argument. They don't know what it is until they're inside, and then they know what it is.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons why the KKK wears suits now. And it's why the Proud Boys, like they
the ones that aren't in prison after January 6th.
They knew they had to package themselves as responsible, knowledgeable players in the conversation. And they knew that they need to package what they're saying differently. And that's what Star Wars theory does. And there's just no getting around that. There are a couple of things I've been hearing from the little internet boys.
Okay.
First of which is like the First Amendment. They're trying to take his away.
Doesn't apply.
Yeah.
The First Amendment specifically says the government cannot abridge your freedom of speech. Yeah. It does not say that a private entity is required to transmit or platform or host your hate speech. Yeah. It just says the government can't put you in jail.
Yeah. Another thing
with certain limitations, but in large,
right, like screaming fire in a credit. Yeah.
Can't do that.
The other thing also is that Star Wars theory, as far as I know, when this was recorded, is not an American citizen. Oh. He's Canadian. And the first,
so it wouldn't even apply.
Yeah, the First Amendment, our Constitution doesn't cover Canadians, and it shouldn't. Fuck you, Canadians.
Yeah, so go look up the Canadian Constitution.
I'm kidding. Almost all the Canadians I've ever met are great, except for Star Wars theory. And then I've seen lots of, you're just jealous because of his subscribers, because he's got too many. Yeah. Which, by the way,
like, we don't make any money off this. Like, we haven't pinned our financial future to this.
Yeah, no, we have real jobs.
Yeah.
So first of all, Connor at the Star Wars Hub, my friend Connor at the Star Wars Hub, was talking to me a little bit about some facts that he just kind of like put together, and then his brain made a connection, which is that Star Wars theory at some point was talking about the ad money that he's put into his operation, and like getting ads for his channel, and the fact that he makes his living with his father selling real estate, and Connor was trying to figure out, like, why is it there's Star Wars theory with like this massive, unbelievable number of subscribers, and then like even the next popular YouTuber, Star Wars YouTuber, whoever it is, who is popular, not coming close to that subscriber count. And it's like, so obviously I can't prove that
he's buying subscriber bots.
Yeah. Or just buying, like, just paying for the ads from the money his dad gives him.
Yeah.
Well, allegedly. I'm not saying.
Allegedly.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I
can't prove it. No, we don't have that kind of evidence.
Right. And I'll also respond to that by saying that I'd much rather have 10 subscribers that are good people than 1 million who are just human trash. And I sleep fine.
And possibly Russian bots.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a whole thing there too. So anyway, that's our thing on the Star Wars theory thing. Alex and Molly at Star Wars Explained are quality people. They produce quality content. They believe, as far as I can tell, in making sure that humans experience the least amount of harm And you start that by giving them all the same rights and the same privileges as everyone else, regardless of their race or their sexual orientation. And if that makes me some kind of woke
snowflake,
then I would much rather be that than whatever the fuck you are.